Hello, welcome to my final presentation on the RNUG online forum about HCL connections, especially the component pack running on AWS Cloud Native services. My name is Martin Schmidt, and first I want to show you a little bit about our company. Our company has three focus groups. The first is Enable Digital Work, which helps our customers to change their organization and to use more digital tools. The HCL Connections is also part of this Enable Digital Work group. The second group is the From Data to Results, which does event-driven and AI-based analytics software to understand the media analytics better. And the third topic is Shape a Flexible IT, where we help our customers to organize and transform the business by adapting cloud services. When we come to the HCL Connections, we focus on we have the four lifecycle processes. We help to design our customers the infrastructure and which scenarios to roll out the infrastructure. We help to build up the infrastructure on premises or in the cloud, help with testing the infrastructure or by upgrading it. The third topic is to scale and to make the usage of connections better inside your organization. Integrating connections with other platforms, or by writing and adding some new integrations with your other systems. And the last one is to help you or to operate your platform. Yes. Beck is located in Munich, Germany, Cluj, Romania, and Florianópolis in Brazil. As you can see here, we are not that small company, and we have quite a lot of interesting customers, which I'll show you later. As you can see here, we are mainly distributed on the South American continent and in Europe, so we can probably easily support you 15 hours a day. And of course, as you might already know from a topic of this presentation, we have a strong partnership with AWS. We have quite a lot of customers on the AWS platform, and we help them to operate their platform, or we operate the soft services for the customer. But we also have knowledge not only on Amazon AWS services, but also in Microsoft Azure environment. And we are a partner of a lot of big companies. Of course, HCL, which includes HCL Connections, HCL Domino, HCL Same Time. But we also focus on other other software vendors to analyze software and to operate your systems. One of our large customers are international customers where we help to operate in the different areas. We're, as you can see, large companies like Continental, Infineon, Lufthansa, and others. All of them are international customers. So this is where our subsidiaries in Cluj, Romania, and Brazil come into place. Now let's switch to the main presentation of this. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Martin Schmidt. I'm Senior IT Architect at Beck Services, and I'm operating and installing HCL Connections since 2007. So basically since the beginning of the product. I have strong experience in development and migration. And since the component pack is out, I got more deep knowledge about Kubernetes and of course the AWS products like EKS and others. My main focus are in the enhancing of the connections instance with small add-ons, or nowadays with additional containers. And of course, I have automated the connections installation since years. As part of this presentation, I will show you the infrastructure I'm talking about. I want to show shortly the AWS costs you have to calculate in. And at the last topic will be why you should choose cloud native. When you plan such a minimum required infrastructure, you probably have no interest in running this on AWS Cloud Native, because when you run it on 2 servers, AWS cannot really help you. If you are interested in running this infrastructure as minimum requirements, it might be good if you check my presentation from yesterday, where I let run Component Pack on a Minikube installation of Component Pack, so just in a 1 server installation with at minimum costs. Regarding this presentation, it's more likely that you plan such an infrastructure. On the right side, you see the classic WebSphere-based application server landscape, where you have a redundant infrastructure of WebSphere servers, redundant HTTP servers, have redundant storage, shared storage, redundant databases, and of course the management infrastructure for these components. Usually when you look at such an infrastructure, you need a lot of resources or knowledge. You need somebody talking about security, you need some database administrator, you need some storage operator, you need somebody who takes care about load balancers, Active Directory, WebSphere, Kubernetes, connections. So quite a lot of knowledge or people that are involved. As well, and nowadays we come to the new component pack infrastructure, which is at least for most companies new or just an edge technology. For this, you of course need also the cluster of Kubernetes master servers. You need your worker services. HCI calls them generic workers, or you need infrastructure workers to host the other components here. You need some reverse proxy and stuff like this. For everything, again, you need all this Kubernetes knowledge, and you need the load balancer knowledge and stuff like this. When you want to operate this, you already need a lot of resources in your data center, and you need a lot of know-how to build it up. Now let's transform this infrastructure into an AWS managed infrastructure. With this, let's move these services to AWS. In the classic WebSphere infrastructure, where the infrastructure is built on standard servers, there is not really much where AWS can help. The servers, of course, you can purchase the servers from AWS, but you have to manually install the WebSphere application servers. Where AWS can help you is with the storage. The NFS storage is presented by AWS for an EFS server, and the database you can use an Oracle RDS multi-AZ installation. With this, when you purchase this one here, you just can skip your knowledge about the operation of a clustered storage. You can more or less skip the knowledge about the operation of a multi-replication database. You just need to add and upload content and do the normal database stuff, so you don't need that deep knowledge here. As well, the component pack infrastructure. When you purchase the Kubernetes cluster from AWS, you don't need somebody who has deep installation knowledge of Kubernetes. You can just rely on your AWS knowledge. Same is with the Elasticsearch cluster. You do not need to operate this whole cluster with the 3 expensive worker nodes. You can just purchase a smaller 3 cluster node from AWS. When you purchase all these resources, you could also skip the specialist for load balancer because you can simply configure them by some clicks or some commands. You don't need that deep knowledge. And of course, you do not need that much knowledge about Kubernetes because you just can purchase it. AWS takes care about the installation and the runtime, and you just can use it. And with this, of course, you have some cost in the runtime cost for AWS. But with this runtime cost, you also purchase the knowledge of the AWS into your infrastructure. And therefore, you don't need to have the knowledge in your own company in that deep level as you need it when you operate it or everything by your own. When it comes to costs, nothing you get impressive. Everybody says cloud is cheap. When you come to the calculation, I don't really think that it's really cheap. What I did here was for one customer to calculate the cost of AWS. I choose 1 year all upfront, which means at the beginning of the year, I pay Amazon the whole cost for all servers. And I choose the cheapest model. So you purchase the hardware for 1 year, the usage of the hardware for 1 year. And then if you don't need it, you still have to pay it. But as you pay everything in front, you get a discount up to 60% or 50%. Of course, not every resource can be purchased upfront. So usually you can purchase servers upfront or Kubernetes cluster, no worker nodes, which are also servers. You cannot purchase resources like disk space or web traffic in front. Therefore, you have some upfront costs, which you have to pay at the front of the year, which you here go through this infrastructure, some up to 20,000 euros. And of course, you have some monthly costs like disk storage, network traffic, and probably some backup storage, which you have to pay monthly. And if you calculate it for 1 year, you have the yearly cost, which sum up. So in the beginning of the year, you pay 21,000 euros to Amazon, and over the whole year, you pay another 16,000 euros. So if you see the costs, why in depth should I use cloud native? Of course, as I already mentioned, the costs. The second topic could be security. And third, as I already also said, the available servers and how the knowledge you need. Let's come back to the costs. When you take the cost of AWS compared to your on-premise account, you just need to think about how much does the infrastructure cost you when you host them on-premise. It's not only the hardware you have to pay. You have cooling and energy costs, some room costs. You have, of course, some local resources, some costs for these ones. And of course, as cloud, where cloud is really strong, is the flexibility of your hardware or your resources. Of course, when you pay the price 1 year in front, you are not that flexible anymore. But if you think in providing or building up the infrastructure, it's simple to just purchase another server, run it to test something, shut it down again. Or if you figure out that you need more hardware, you just can add it if needed. So when calculating the cost, you also need to make sure and compare it to the other environments in your local things. The second topic is, of course, security. When it comes to security, often you hear in that cloud is not secure enough. But this really depends. If you're not strong, you have not somebody who really takes care about security in your on-premise infrastructure, cloud could be more secure because AWS infrastructure can simply be built to be secure without really focus with less knowledge than doing internally, because you can use the knowledge of AWS. But of course, you need some knowledge about AWS. So this AWS specialist is required in this topic. Then, of course, the Kubernetes cluster you need to be secure. And of course, you need to configure it to be secure. So as I said, you need the AWS specialist to get it more secure. Maybe you have some corporate policies which forbid you to put some special content into the cloud and other things that you have to take into account. The third main topic is the usage of the available services. So, of course, AWS does not provide you any WebSphere services, so you have to build them on your own. You could use the load balance of AWS. You can, of course, use the Kubernetes EKS cluster. You can use the Oracle RDS databases, which are working fine. You could use the network file system, which is EFS, the Elastic File Systems offering. And you could use Elasticsearch. Out of the box, the Elasticsearch in the Kubernetes 6 version has some limitations when it comes to the component pack RNUG integration. The Elasticsearch RNUG component pack does not work out of the box with the component pack. It works fine with the standard type ahead search, and it works fine with the matrix components, so the matrix stuff. To get it working with the RNUG component, you have to do some tricks to get it working. If you need more knowledge about the products I have here and to want to know how to really get it installed, you can check out my blog, which I already mentioned in other presentations, where I describe in detail how to get up and running your InfoConnections component pack inside AWS. I will provide you here a lot of scripts to easily use the components, and more or less it's a step-by-step guide to get everything in running. Of course, if you need more knowledge about the products I'm using here, these are the links to the documentation. So I'm already at the end of my presentation. What do you think? Think you can run, or is it operating for you in AWS Cloud Native? Or you do think it's better to run it on-premise as HCL Connection describes it in your infrastructure? If you have my other questions later on, when you check my blog or so, do not hesitate to send an email to me. I'm here to help, and I will also help you with the infrastructure if you later have some questions. Thank you. Yes.
Приветствую вас.
Martin, hello.
Благодарю вас за ваше выступление.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Я думаю, что за весь форум, за весь период форума вы подарили нашим слушателям большое количество очень полезной, нужной информации.
I believe that during the forum, you gave our audience and our listeners a whole bunch of very useful information.
У нас нет вопросов от аудитории.
We don't have questions coming from our audience so far.
И, безусловно, мы ждем встречи с вами в следующем году в России.
And definitely, we are looking forward to meeting you next year here in Russia.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое.